See, when you have a quiz funnel, you have the opportunity to explode the growth of your business. You can grow your business by anywhere from 10 to 50x on the back of one of these quiz funnels. And the reason for that is because a quiz done well and done right can go viral. It can go completely viral and explode in your marketplace. And I'll give you an example of this. This is Luis Carlos and his wife, Gabby. They are in the parenting market, in the Hispanic market, in the Spanish speaking world. And they decided to do a quiz funnel. And they created a quiz funnel around identifying your parenting type. And the quiz funnel went completely viral. Now, I'm going to share some numbers with you that are going to sound like I'm exaggerating or I'm making them up. But these numbers are actually understated. I'm understating these numbers somewhat. They launched their quiz funnel and check it out. In less than 10 days, they generated over 1,018,522 email opt-ins. They grew their list by over 1 million people in less than 10 days. And they did it at a cost per lead of just 26 cents per lead.
Ryan Levesque is the 3-time Inc. 5000 CEO of the Ask Method company and the #1 national best-selling author of the books Choose and Ask, the latter named by Inc. as the #1 marketing book of the year. His work has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Harvard Business Review, Forbes, Entrepreneur, and NBC News. He is also co-founder of Bucket.io, the world's leading quiz funnel software technology, with over 30 million end users worldwide. He's a certified AFOL. That means adult fan of Lego. Ryan lives with his wife, Tylene, and their 2 boys in Austin, Texas. You can follow his work at www.askmethod.com. Now, Ryan's presentation is the private deep dive quiz funnel workshop he'll be delivering exclusively for Genius Network members today. His title, How We Generated $8.59 million in 55 days using the power of a quiz funnel, and how to decide which of the 3 types of quiz funnels you should consider using in your business. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ryan Levesque.
Super excited to be here, really grateful to be here. And we're going to cover a lot of ground here today. So just a little bit of context before we kind of dive right in. Joe and I are part of a number of different groups together. And at another mastermind that he and I are both part of, I was asked to do a private quiz funnel workshop. And really the challenge was to take a 3-day quiz funnel boot camp that we do, where we take people through the process of coming up with, creating, launching, and building a quiz funnel in 3 days and compressing that into 3 hours. So it was a little bit like drinking from the fire hose. And after that, Joe texted me and he said, hey, this was so awesome. Would you consider possibly doing this for Genius Network members? And he and I went back and forth and talked. And this is one of the last things that he did. We were talking, I think it was December 31st, and finally nailed the plans down before he disappeared off into the sunset for his sabbatical. And here we are here today. Before we dive right in, I'm just curious, show of physical hands, who saw the 10-minute talk that I did last month? If you were on that, just gives me a good sense of context. Okay, so I see a good mix. It's like about probably about 60% of us. Cool. So that was a 10-minute talk. Just a quick overview. Today is an actual workshop. And so we're going to be doing the same thing again. And I'm going to be attempting to compress a 3-day quiz funnel workshop in roughly the 3 hours that we have here together. And really the goal is to make some great ground, to cover some great ground, make some great headway, and to think about your quiz funnel for your business and what that might be. So with that said, if you're ready, I'm ready. We're going to dive right into the slides here. And again, welcome to this private quiz workshop. As Mike mentioned, it was a bit of a perilous 24 hours. I was doing a training yesterday, and about an hour into the training, we lost power. Basically our entire town lost power because we're having some major ice storms here in Texas. And you can see here some of the photos from this morning in our yard, which is absolutely beautiful, except for the fact that it's caused quite a bit of the trees and foliage around us to collapse. You can see here, we could not get to our house this morning. These are my two boys, Henry and Bradley, and our little dog, Blue. You can see here, we had a fallen cedar tree that fell across our driveway. And you can see so much of it is the trees are collapsed in here. We stayed at a hotel last night just to be safe. And I was texting with Eunice back and forth. And I said, I think we're going to be good. But if you see things cut out at any time, if Mike has to come back in with his great tunes and great dance moves, you know it's because we lost power, and I've got a backup plan that I'll be hopping back in. All right, so with that said, goal today, my personal goal is to help you massively grow your business with a quiz. And to do that, to get us warmed up for the actual work that we're going to be doing here today. And by the way, this is an interactive session. There are going to be handouts. There are going to be things that we're going to be filling out together. This isn't just a passive learning day. This is a day where the goal is for you to make as much progress toward potentially building a quiz funnel for your business as possible in the time that we have. And before we get started, I think it's important to first answer the question, what is a quiz funnel? This is just kind of warm-up material to kind of get us and our brains all thinking in the same direction. So what is a quiz funnel? A quiz funnel, in a nutshell, is when someone lands on your website, instead of trying to sell them your thing, instead of trying to get them to sign up for your webinar, instead of trying to promote your product or service straight out of the gate, when someone lands on your website, you begin by asking a series of questions to better understand their situation so that you can customize the product, the offer, or even the message based on that person's situation. And I'm going to go through a few examples. And one of the themes of our day here today is you're going to see me go through a lot of different examples together. And the reason for this is I want to kind of infuse your brain with ideas from all sorts of different markets, types of businesses, hopefully get the creative juices flowing for you to start thinking about what this might look like for you and your business. So kind of keep that in mind. I encourage you to have something that you're ready to take some notes with, whether that's a piece of paper and a pen, or if you're like me and you like to use your iPad to keep notes, to do that. And as and when you have ideas, I encourage you to just jot them down, maybe on the right-hand side on a piece of paper that you've got going. So let's take a look at an example of a quiz funnel in action. So the first example that I want to share with you here is a quiz funnel that some of you may be familiar with. It's in the golf space, and it's a swing killers quiz. And the premise of this quiz looks like this. You can see here is a landing page. This is Jim McLean. And on this landing page is a video. And the premise behind this quiz is, hi, my name is Jim McLean, and I've been helping golfers for the last 25 years. And I found that every golfer from the rank beginner to the seasoned tour pro suffers from one of several what we call swing killers. These are mistakes that you make in your golf swing that prevent you from hitting with power and distance and consistency. And I've learned by simply asking a few simple questions, I can identify what your number one swing killer is in under 60 seconds. All you need to do is click the button below, answer a few simple questions, and I'll see you on the other side with your number one swing killer and what to do about it. And we proceed by asking a series of questions to, much like a doctor, diagnose that person's situation and ultimately prescribe the right solution. I'll give you another example. This is an example that we co-created with Amy Porterfield. Now, if you're not familiar with Amy, Amy helps digital marketers, course creators, and she has a program called the Digital Course Academy, the DCA. It's a program for teaching people how to build an online course. And she created a quiz called What Type of Course Should You Create for Your Business? And she begins with a landing page that looks like this, asks a series of questions, and based on that information, recommends what type of course is right for you. Should you create a starter course or a signature course or one of the other types of courses? And then that seamlessly leads into her offer, which is to sell her program on how to create an online course. Now, that's what a quiz funnel is. Before we kind of dive into our work together, I want to set the stage for talking about why quiz funnels. So the million things you could be doing in your business. You could be doing webinars, challenges, video sales letters. There's a million things you could be doing. Why quiz funnels? Well, there are 5 really important reasons that I think are important to recap before we dive into the work we're doing here today. And that begins with reason number 1, incredibly cheap leads. When you put a quiz funnel as the front end of your business, the front end of your marketing funnel online, you can often cut your cost per lead down by anywhere from 1/3 to 1/10 the cost of what you'd otherwise pay. And a few examples of these numbers. This is Mastin Kipp. He's an author. He is an expert in the personal development space. And he used a quiz funnel and was able to cut his cost per lead from $6 a lead to 76 cents per lead. This is Sean Penrod, and Sean in the marathon running market was able to cut his cost per lead from $2.59 to 23 cents per lead by using a quiz funnel at the front of his marketing. This is Beryl Young. Beryl was able to cut her cost per lead from $1.67 to less than 14 cents per lead. And when I say lead, what I'm talking about here is email subscribers. So that's the cost that people are paying to generate an email subscriber. So as you think about what you're paying in your business right now, whether you're paying $1, $5, $10 to generate an email subscriber, imagine cutting that cost per lead by 1/3 to 1/10 the cost. That's reason number one. Now, reason number two is as follows. People always say, great, Ryan, you get some cheap leads, but how do the leads convert? Well, that takes us to reason number two, incredibly high conversion. And what I mean by that is you can generate incredibly high sales conversion on the back of your funnel. And the reason for that is because you can customize your copy and your offer. Instead of selling to people in a one-size-fits-all way, you can ask a series of questions to understand their situation, customize your copy and your offer based on their answers. And you can often double to triple your sales conversion rate on the back end when you do this. I'll give you an example of this in action. This is a company called Snack Nation. CMO of this company, one of the co-founders, Andy Mackinson, decided after hearing me deliver a training like this, decided to reach out, ask for a little bit of help, and do a test on his landing page to see how a quiz funnel would perform against their best performing control funnel. And after 90 days, we looked at the results. And you can see here the old homepage compared to the new quiz homepage. He was able to triple his revenue. He was able to cut his sales lead time, his sales cycle from 11 days to 8 days. He was able to get a higher average order value. He was able to get higher repeat buyers, and he was able to triple his business, landing on the Inc. 500, generating $24.2 million a year on the back of this strategy. Now, reason number three, why quiz funnels? It's not just about cheaper leads and higher conversion. It's also about incredibly high volume.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there.
See, when you have a quiz funnel, you have the opportunity to explode the growth of your business. You can grow your business by anywhere from 10 to 50x on the back of one of these quiz funnels. And the reason for that is because a quiz done well and done right can go viral. It can go completely viral and explode in your marketplace. And I'll give you an example of this. This is Luis Carlos and his wife, Gabby. They are in the parenting market in the Hispanic market, in the Spanish speaking world. And they decided to do a quiz funnel. And they created a quiz funnel around identifying your parenting type. And the quiz funnel went completely viral. Now, I'm going to share some numbers with you that are going to sound like I'm exaggerating or I'm making them up. But these numbers are actually understated. I'm understating these numbers somewhat. They launched their quiz funnel, and check it out. In less than 10 days, they generated over 1,018,522 email opt-ins. They grew their list by over 1 million people in less than 10 days. And they did it at a cost per lead of just 26 cents per lead. And in terms of their ROI, in the first 30 days, they made a 4x ROI, meaning that they spent about 260,000 and change in traffic. And they made over $1 million on those leads in the first 30 days. And that does not count any of the back-end revenue, follow-up revenue, or recurring revenue that they've generated off of that audience. Why quiz funnels? Reason number four. Not only does this give you incredibly cheap leads, incredibly high conversion, and the opportunity to explode your business and scale in a major way, you also have access to incredibly valuable data. Quiz data is an incredibly valuable asset. In fact, for those of you who are thinking about maybe selling your business at some point, you can increase the value of your business by 100x or more. And I'll show you a few examples of this. So this is a little company called Health IQ. And a few years ago, they decided to disrupt one of the oldest, stodgiest, most conservative industries in the entire world, the life insurance industry. And the life insurance industry has been around for over 500 years. It's an industry that is known for very little innovation, little disruption, but they decided to create a new paradigm where they used a quiz funnel to build their audience. And as a result of this strategy, we're valued at $450 million in less than just a few years of being in existence. They built a $500 million company. Now, the reason for this is because the database that they've built, the database of leads and customers, is not just limited to knowing a person's name, email, and their physical address, but they have 25 different data points off of this list of people. Now, if you think about the most valuable companies of our generation, the Googles, the Amazons, the Facebooks of the world, what do they all have in common? They know more about us and have access to more data on us than anybody. Using a quiz funnel is a way to democratize access to that data, take it out of the hands of big tech and put it into the hands of you and your business. And I've been involved in a few exits that have generated incredible numbers based on this strategy. So remember that golf example that I showed just a few minutes ago. This is a little company, Revolution Golf, started by 3 golf buddies. We launched a quiz funnel together. We built an audience of over 2.1 million golfers. And then one day we got a phone call from a tiny little company called NBC, reached out and said, hey, would you guys be interested in possibly selling? And the golf channel, in partnership with NBC Golf, made an offer to acquire Rev Golf for over $50 million to grow their audience, to boost their digital audience, in this case, to over 15 million people. Did it again in the business funding space. Built a quiz funnel with a little company called Swift Financial. We built a quiz funnel called Loan Builder, which was a quiz to help people, small business owners determine what type of business funding is right for you based on your circumstances. Started by an ex-MBNA employee, Ed Herricky. Ed reached out to me. We built a quiz funnel together, built a list of over 20,000 customers. And one day got a phone call from a tiny little company called PayPal. And PayPal made an offer to acquire Swift for over $183 million. So why quiz funnels? Not only is it about cheap leads, high conversion, exploding the volume of your business, and potentially dramatically increasing the value of your business in the event that you might want to exit at some point. But most importantly, not only does this help you better sell, but it helps you better serve. Of course, you win for all the reasons that we've talked about, but more importantly, your customer wins. And I'll show you an example of this. This is Dana Abraham. She's a mom, 3 kids. You can see here with her husband, Jason, on a road trip with their kiddos in the back seat. And she recently, last year, decided to launch a quiz funnel. She generated over 10,000 leads in 14 days, had her first $1 million year in less than 12 months on the back of her quiz funnel. And the feedback that she's gotten from her market is that you've changed my life. And Dana helps parents with outside the box kids. So kids that are on the spectrum, kids who have been rejected by traditional schools, kids who have been diagnosed as having learning disabilities. And she's helped parents with kids in that situation. And she's been able to make an incredible impact by reaching so many people that she otherwise wouldn't have reached. So whether you are looking to sell via a webinar on the back of your quiz, like Michael Hyatt here with the quiz that we co-created called the Platform Assessment Quiz that does over $200,000 a month. Whether you're looking to do a new launch and you'd like to use a quiz as the front end of your launch to explode that launch, like Amy's $5 million launch. Whether you're looking to sell information products like Charlie Wallace here with his Guitar Progress Killers quiz. By the way, Charlie went from nothing. He was literally trying to make it as a musician, sleeping in the backseat of his car with his bandmates, and decided he needed a way to make money. He reached out and decided to use a quiz funnel to build a business in the guitar training space. Went from nothing to $2.2 million a year while he was in his 20s. named one of the top 10 entrepreneurs under the age of 30 by Entrepreneur, and was able to fund his dream, as you can see here, launching his debut record that hit the Billboard charts at number 12, all of which was made possible with this. Whether you're looking to sell e-commerce like Buck Risby and Steve Siskin, we created a quiz funnel in the supplement space that does over $12 million a year. The weight loss type quiz, or Andy in the physical product space, sells a physical box of snacks that gets delivered to your door. Snack Nation, $24.2 million a year. Or in the case of Swift, selling the business for over $183 million. Or if you're just a total newbie like Neil Gordon here, Neil was literally driving for Lyft. And less than a year later, on the back of his quiz, is now making $100,000 a month in the public speaking space. So I'm sharing these examples to get you excited, to get your mind sort of turning and your brain getting excited about what we're going to be covering here in just a minute. But we've got examples in all sorts of different markets, from the security market to the relationship market, to the Portuguese markets, as you can see here, business to business, business to consumer, the art market, and beyond. Now, that's just the warm-up for what we're going to be covering here today. Now's the point where we're actually going to begin putting some initial first steps into place. We're actually going to do a bit of workshopping together. We're actually going to get some stuff done. Now, to set the stage, as I mentioned, we do a 3-day quiz funnel boot camp where we go through this process from start to finish. It's an intense 3 days. And the attempt that I'm going to be making here today is to compress as much as we possibly can of that 3-day experience into the 3 hours that we have together today. So you're getting like the super concentrated version. And I share that with you to kind of prep your brain, because we're going to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. Is that good? Like, are we good with like that compressed format? Like getting a lot done in a very short amount of time? All right. Okay, cool. So let's talk about important first steps. The first 2 things, and by the way, before we go any further, who's thinking that you might be doing a quiz funnel in your business, or at least you're kind of interested in the possibility? Yeah? Okay, good. For everyone else, you can go and watch Netflix or like go outside or have some fun or whatever. For everyone who's excited for the possibilities, we're going to get a little bit of work done today. So important first steps. Step number 1. First thing that we need to do is we need to confirm your offer. What is it that you're selling on the back of your quiz? And the reason for that is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they create a quiz funnel like this is they create a quiz that is a staircase that leads to nowhere. This is not about creating one of those BuzzFeed time-wasting quiz like what Disney character is your dog. It's not one of these quizzes. Those quizzes are great for getting people to take it, but they're not great for creating buyers. They're great for getting clicks, not customers. So it's important to have in mind the offer. We got to begin with the end in mind. What is it that you think you're going to be selling on the back of this? Are you driving people to a discovery call? Are you driving people to a webinar? Are you taking people to one of your events? Are you taking people to a physical product that you sell? Have that in your mind, because that's going to determine the type of quiz that we build. That's the first step. Second step is to confirm your big idea or the hook behind your quiz. And that's where we're actually going to start. We're going to start with your quiz hook, finding your big idea. Now, for those of you who were on the 10-minute talk that I did last month, who remembers the 3 quiz frameworks that we talked about? Remember, that was my assignment for you. I said, if you choose to accept it, your goal between that talk and our time here today was to think about the 3 quiz frameworks and which one makes the most sense for you. So who remembers what they are? Post it in the comments. I'm just curious. Denise says number 1 was type, number 2 was killer, and number 3 was score. Denise, you are the winner of the day. Great notes. Congratulations. Awesome. And for those of you who maybe either forgot about them or are hearing them for the first time, we're going to cover them one by one. So thank you, Denise, for that. Your hook, your big idea. Your quiz starts with the big idea. It all starts with the thing that attracts people to take your quiz in the first place. And when it comes to creating a quiz funnel, it is all about the hook. It's all about that thing that's going to get people to start the process. Much like when you write a book, it's all about that juicy title. It's all about that juicy cover that gets people to actually pick up the book when they're browsing at Barnes & Noble and give it a shot. So it's all about the hook. Now, I'm going to go through a few examples of quizzes here to kind of get your brain firing and thinking about what your quiz might look like. And then we're going to go into the process for figuring out your hook. So this is an example. This is Peter Johnston. He and his partner run a business called Her Business. He helps women in small business grow their business and get more of what they want in life. And he wanted to create a quiz that was a lead gen for membership waitlist, for a waitlist for a membership that he was building. And so he created something called What's Your Networking Personality? This is Alexis Fedor. She helps artists, and she wanted to get more traffic to a webinar that she had created that was doing well, but she wanted more eyeballs on that webinar. So we decided to put a quiz on the front of that webinar, offering her online course. And she created something called the Art Marketing Score. This is Dr. Will Haas. He's a fertility expert. He's a physician, and he wanted to create a quiz to his online course, which is for a 14-day fertility cleanse for women trying to conceive and to optimize their natural fertility potential. So we created a quiz. What's the number one food harming your fertility? Take this quiz to find out now. So these are examples of hooks for quizzes that have performed well and are performing well in the wild. Question you might be asking yourself is, how do you come up with your hook? Well, it all starts with this model that I want to walk you through, and it looks like this. It's called the quiz creation flow. Now, before we go any further, I want to let you know that you guys have access to a special set of resources that we have curated for you and you only. I'm going to ask that you keep this within the group. You don't share this on the outside, because normally these are part of our paid programs. And I just want to gift this to you. And to keep things super simple and straightforward, we have made a special Dropbox link available. And so, Chris, if you're able to post that Dropbox link inside the chat, that would be awesome. And then I'm going to walk you through what that looks like, and we can go from there. And if we're not able to post that link, let's see, I'm not seeing it. Let me see, Chris, be able to either text me or unmute. And Eunice, we may need to unmute or give Chris the ability to post it, or Elliot, someone on my team, in chat. I'm not seeing it. Oh, wait, maybe I'm seeing it. Let's see, guys.
Hey, Ryan, it's Elliot. I'm unmuted. I'm about to post that right now.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Thank you. In the meantime, I'll pull it up so you can see what you're going to be looking at. All right, so if we go to my screen here, you're going to see that there's a Dropbox link. It's a folder. Don't look ahead. Don't jump ahead. There's a couple resources that are going to be here. It might look like this when you fire it up, when you open it up, that has some cool stuff that we're making available to you. You should have it in just a second. It's in the content channel in Slack. If you just scroll up just a little bit. I just don't have the ability to type into chat right now. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at this model right here, which is the quiz creation flow. And you'll be able to download this at your leisure. If we go back to my slides here, and I'll get an alert as soon as this is available. It should be momentarily. I'm not sure what the delay is, but we'll get it going as soon as possible. All right, so this quiz creation flow, you can see here the model for creating a quiz. Every quiz follows this format that looks like this: attract, diagnose, prescribe. And you can further break down that format as follows: welcome, questions, and then a series of steps where we give people an outcome of their quiz so that we can sell the next step in our funnel, whether it's getting people to buy your products, watch your webinar, or what have you. Now, in marketing terms, what this means is this: we've got a hook that leads to an offer connected by a bridge. Now, the important thing to note with this is that you do not build your quiz in the same order that people take your quiz. Instead, you begin with the end in mind. You've got to get clear first on your offer. 1 second. I'm going to see if I can, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can get this. There we go. All right. The Dropbox link is now officially inside the chat. So the document that we're looking at right here, if you want to pull it up, I'm going to go back to it here. You go into Dropbox and you're going to see number 4, QFBC quiz creation flow. You may want to pull that up. You may want to download it to have it at your disposal. You can just click this download button right here, direct download, pull it up. and then you'll have it right there in your browser, so you can look along with me. All right, great. So it's a Dropbox link. It's inside the chat. You'll see it, and we'll post it again if folks can't find it. So go back to my slides here. We want to begin with the end in mind. We begin with the offer first, and then we move from the offer to the hook, and then from there we connect the offer and the hook with the bridge. Now, I'll show you some examples of this in action before we go through the actual process of coming up with your hook. So, a few examples. This is Michael Hyatt's quiz, and in getting an echo. This is Michael Hyatt's quiz, and in his case, Michael is driving people to a sales webinar. He wanted to take people to a sales webinar to sell his multi-$100 product, which is a platform university offer. So the offer that we're driving people to is to sign up for the webinar, created a quiz called the platform assessment to take people there. Here's another example. This is Mastin Kipp. Mastin wanted to sell people copies of his book. We used a quiz, what's your nervous system survival type, to take people to his book offer. Here's another example. This is Morgan Gist McDonald. She wanted to drive people to a discovery call, to a sales call. And we used a quiz to drive people to a call to action to get people to do a discovery call with a member of her team. She helps authors publish their book. And we created a quiz called, what is your publishing path? What publishing path is right for you? This is Dev Basu's digital marketing agency called Powered by Search. We want to drive people to a pre-recorded webinar that is for his digital marketing agency, created something called the Digital Readiness Assessment to drive people there. We already talked about Amy Porterfield. Amy wanted to drive people to her Digital Course Academy program. In this case here, the program's not available for sale at the moment. So what she does is she uses the quiz to drive people to the wait list for her offer. So that way, the next time that she launches, she has a massive list of people who are ready and excited to buy. All right, now let's talk about your quiz hook, this piece right here. There are two pieces to every quiz hook, and they are as follows. The first is what we call your quiz topic. Now, the quiz topic is going to be unique to you. It's going to be unique to your business, your market, and your quiz. It could be digital marketing. It could be metabolism. It could be your golf swing. It could be guitar playing. It could be blood sugar. It could be online courses. It could be a quiz about money. That quiz topic is going to be unique to you. Now, the second part of your quiz hook is what we call the quiz framework. Now, this is where Denise's answer comes into play. There are only 3 possible quiz frameworks to choose from, and hopefully you've given some thought as to what that might be for your business. And they are, once again, a type quiz, a killer quiz, or a score quiz. Now, I'm going to recap what each of these are, and I'm going to encourage you as I go through them to think about which one of these 3 types of quizzes makes the most sense for you and your business, beginning with the type framework. So a type framework is one where you're putting people into one of several buckets based on their type. Now, there's an interesting element of psychology behind why each of these frameworks works so well. With the type framework, we have to go to the research of 2 researchers known by the names of Berlin and Kay. And they postulated this interesting idea that our brains make sense of the world. We are inclined to make sense of the world by putting things into different groupings and categories. In fact, we do this as children, right? As a young child, what do? You learn about animals, and then you learn that everything's an animal. And then you learn that there are dogs and there are cats. And then you're able to put dogs in your mental dog bucket, cats in your mental cat bucket. And then as your brain develops further, you learn that there's the difference between a lion and a cheetah and a tiger. And you can put animals into the different sub-buckets that you've created in your mind. It's our universal inclination to categorize things, even categorize ourselves. In fact, this is so hardwired in our psychology that even when something is presented in the form of an infinite spectrum like color exists on a spectrum. The division in color is an artificial construct that we use to help make sense of that rainbow. Our brain will naturally put these colors into red, green, purple, and pink. And we do this because our brain likes the certainty of this. So when we tap into this psychology, we see things like the MBTI, personality quiz, the Colby assessment, Sally Hogshead's How to Fascinate profile, Roger Hamilton's Wealth Dynamics profile, the Enneagram, and more. Examples of this in a marketing context would be like, for example, the Proactive Skin Type Quiz. Years ago, did work with the company Proactive to create something called the Skin Type Quiz to help people identify what skincare product is right for you based on your skin type, following the same model that we looked at a moment ago: attract, diagnose, prescribe. The Weight Loss Type Quiz. Here's Dr. Steve Siskin. We've created 4 different weight loss types based on your hormonal balance, your hormonal makeup. There are 4 weight loss types: type A, type I, type G, type C, and they all correspond to the weight loss hormone that is most likely most out of balance in your body based on a little bit of information. Is it ghrelin, cortisol, adiponectin, insulin? What hormone is most out of balance? That determines what your weight loss type is, and based on that information, indicates what your protocol should be for actually losing weight. It impacts what foods you should eat, what exercises you should be performing, and the supplementation you should be taking to help with your weight loss. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. That's the first type, the type framework. Second framework is what we call a killer framework. Killer framework taps into the psychology that the fear of loss is more powerful than the promise of gain. Here's an example here of that control headline that as marketers we're all familiar with. Do you make these mistakes in English? This is a control headline that ran for more than 50 years. And what you notice about this headline is it doesn't say how to speak better or how to speak more eloquently. It's, do you make these mistakes in English? And this is for a correspondence course to learn how to speak better English. This example here that we looked at a moment ago, the Golf Swing Killers quiz. This is one where you're identifying the mistake someone is making in their life that's holding them back from achieving the transformation that you provide in your business, in your product, or in your service. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. Next, Charlie Wallace. Are you struggling to play the guitar? Could you be making one of these several mistakes in your guitar playing, what we call progress killers? Attract, diagnose, and prescribe. The third framework is what we call a score framework. Now, this one here taps into a different type of psychology, taps into social comparison theory. Now, if you look at this right here, I think many of us on this call are old enough to remember what we're looking at here. Remember this thing here? Does that bring back some memories? I don't know about you. Every time I look at one of these things, it brings back memories for me when I was a kiddo, having to bring this thing home, sweating bullets. By the way, out of curiosity, I'm always curious with this group. Where are my straight A students? Raise your hand if you were like a straight A student in college, in growing up. Yeah, okay. Where are my C students? Raise their hand. Yeah. I love it. Every time I do this, it's the same thing. The straight A students, you guys just, like raising your hand, all modest, like don't want to show off, whatever. And then the C students are like giving me like the double middle finger in the camera. They're like, yeah, I was a C student. What have you? So you can take your guess if you think I was a C student or an A student. But I love it because it evokes so much emotion. Seeing something like this. And it's a label. Look at this. It's a label that we carry with us into adulthood, right? We remember the fact that we were an A student or a C student or a B student or a D student or whatever. It's a label that we carry with us into adulthood. And it underscores why this is so powerful. It taps into social comparison theory. That yet another way that our brain makes sense of the world is that we're constantly comparing ourselves to both ourselves and to our peers. We exist in a relative basis. There's no such thing as an absolute. We want to know how we're doing. Are we making more money than that guy over there? How come that she's lost more weight than me? How is it that he's further ahead in his career than I am? We're constantly comparing ourselves. It's just the way that we're hardwired. And so when you use a score-based quiz, you can help people measure where they are in a spectrum, where they are on a journey relative to either where they should be or relative to their peers. So as I mentioned, social comparison theory, first postulated by Leon Festinger. You can see here the fact that we as individuals have a drive to gain accurate self-evaluations. We want to know where we stand in the world. What's our place? Are we in the top 1%, the top 10%, top 50%? We have this drive to know where we stand. And you can use this to create a score-based framework to help people evaluate where they are on a journey of progress, create a gap between where they are and where they want to be, and then introduce your solution, your paid product or service, which presumably helps them fill that gap. So this is the process, your quiz kickoff checklist. Now, if we go to our handouts and we go to the Dropbox link, the one that you want to be looking at here is as follows. The one that says number 3. See the one that says number 3, kickoff workbook? There are 2 main workbooks that we're going to be using here today. As I mentioned, this is a 3.5 day boot camp that I'm compressing elements of into the 3 hours that we have. And what we're covering now is what we do in our kickoff workshop. So that PDF that you see, 03 QFBC kickoff workshop, you might want to click on that. You might want to download that to your computer. You might want to open that up. And I would recommend that you save it to your desktop. Do as I say, not as I do. Save it to your desktop because there are elements of this that in just a moment, we're going to be filling in together. And I'm going to encourage you to play along. I know the tendency is to want to sit back passively, just enjoy the show. But my recommendation to you to get the most out of our time here together, the more that you're actively involved, the more that you resist the temptation to just sit back and actually play along, have a little bit of fun with this. Don't worry about getting it perfect. Just put in your first couple thoughts. It's going to get the ball rolling. It's going to help make some progress. So this is my recommendation to you. Download that PDF, and we're going to start filling some things in together based on our first initial ideas and initial thoughts on what your quiz might potentially look like. So let's take a look at our slides here in the process. Process is as follows. These 6 steps. Start with your offer, brainstorm the topic, brainstorm the framework, brainstorm your hook, make a short list of your top 4 ideas, and then select your hook. So this is the process right here. We're going to begin with step 1, start with your offer. So I mentioned a moment ago, the first thing that you got to get clarity on is what are you selling on the back of this quiz? What's the point of this quiz? You're not just doing it for fun, right? You're doing it for a business reason. You want to get more people to watch your webinar, more people to sign up as clients, more people to buy your physical products. You're doing something. The goal of this quiz is to generate leads and customers. So you want to get clear. Now, when it comes to your offer, you might, there's some questions that are important and helpful to ask. Like, for example, what's your most popular product or service? That could be a great candidate to put on the back of a quiz. Quiz is a great way to scale something that's already working well. Which of your product solves a well-known problem? Do you have a new product that you want to launch in a big way? A quiz is an incredible way to explode into a market with a new product. If you don't have a product or you're not sure what to sell, send people to a wait list. That's a great way. You're not sure what you might want to sell right now, put people to a wait list. And as you'll see in a moment, you can use this wait list strategy to figure out what to sell or sell the next thing that you're planning on launching. You can build a list to make an offer in the future. Now, if you have no product, create a pre-launch list for your yet to be created product. Quizzes are a great way to create a pre-launch list, whether you're writing a new book, launching a new course, create a pre-launch list using a quiz. The best way to build a list quickly is to, for a launch, is to do so via quiz. I shared with you Jamal Miller, I think a moment ago. Jamal has a quiz that he created. Why are you still single? He sells in the Christian singles market. You can see Jamal with his family here, created a quiz. Why are you still single? Generated over 10,000 leads in 14 days. Thing went viral. He went from making $17 an hour working for his church, trying to build his business part-time, to making over $500,000 in his first year on the back of this strategy. Now, if your product is not available right now, you might say you have a seasonal product or something that you only open periodically, like with a launch or something of that nature. Build an interest list, and you can swap in the offer when the product is available. So in other words, you can create a quiz where you don't necessarily have to have your sales process dialed in on the back end. You can use it to build an interest list and then swap in, replace that wait list with a sales video for your product as soon as it's ready. So an example of this is Blue Melnick and Barry Bumgarner, the principals at Sage Events. Most of you, I think, know Blue and Barry and Blue. They are incredible in the event space to produce some of the biggest events in our industry, including Tony Robbins' event last year. And so we created a quiz. What type of event is right for you? They weren't quite ready to launch their course. So we used it to build an interest list, a pre-launch list for their offer. And before their offer was ready, we just sent them to a little video that looks like this. They built a list of tens of thousands of people for launching their offer on the back of the strategy. Let's say you're selling something now and you might want to sell something different down the road. No problem. You can use the same quiz funnel to sell a different product down the road. Your post-quiz prescription can be changed. You can change it from a book to a course to coaching to an event. You can have one quiz that is so flexible. All you need to do is swap out the outcome page on the back end. I mentioned Maston Kipp. His example is the one that I shared here. He literally went from selling his book to selling his course. The only thing he changed was the page he was sending people after they took his quiz. And by the way, if you don't have an offer, you're not sure what to create, you can use a quiz to build a list of people so you can ask. Mike, at the beginning, when he introduced me, talked about how the ask method, one of the most powerful aspects of it is the fact that you can survey your audience in a very specific way to understand the hot buttons, the challenges, the frustrations, the struggles that they have, so you can dial in your marketing messaging and your products based on those needs. Well, the process is simple. Step 1, launch a quiz. Step 2, run a deep dive survey to that list of people that you've built. Step 3, create and sell what your list wants. An example of that is Gabby and Luis Carlos. I shared their story. They're the couple who sell in the parenting market in the Hispanic, Spanish-speaking market, generated a list of 1 million people, did a survey to that list and said, hey, what are you struggling with as a parent? Created a course that solved that need, made $1 million. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. That's it. Now, if you're stuck, you're still not sure, my final recommendation is to start with a practice quiz. If you're kind of sitting there right now and you're like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, take the pressure off yourself. Don't try to get it perfect out of the gate. Start with a practice quiz. In fact, that's exactly what I did. If you're like most people, your first quiz will not be your last quiz. So detach yourself from the outcome, focus on this process, and take that first step. I've got a couple resources that I'm setting you guys up with. If you're still stuck and you're like, I don't know what makes the most sense, we have 2 resources for you. One is in the Dropbox link. You'll see it's resource number 1 in the list. It's, number 2. It's 101 profitable ideas. That will give you a whole bunch of different quiz funnel niche ideas for you. And then the second one is resource number 1, which is quiz funnel ideas. So actual potential quizzes to kind of jog your thinking. So first thing that you want to do, start with your offer. And to do that, we're going to go to our workbook. So this is resource number 3, the kickoff workbook. It's the one that looks like this. And what you're going to do is you are going to scroll down. You find the right page to page 4 in the PDF where it says start with your offer. And in this space right here, this will take you 10 seconds. We're going to do it together in real time. What's your market? What are you selling? And what's the price point of that thing? So you might say the market is the weight loss market. Let me zoom in so you can see that a little bit more easily. You're just going to do it. Let's do it together right now. Weight loss market. What are you selling? I'm selling my weight loss bootcamp virtual. And what's the price point? Let's say it's a $497 program. Okay, great. Done. Step 1, done. Once you've done that, you can check off the box. Step 1, we are finished. Now we can move on to step 2, brainstorming your topic. So now that we've got clarity on what it is that you are going to be selling on the back of your quiz, now we can come up with a topic that's going to attract the right type of people. So let's go through that process. So when it comes to figuring out your topic, there are a few thought starters, resources, and tools that I want to share with you. And I'm going to go through these pretty rapid fire. You'll have access to these resources, but you might want to take some notes as we go through them. So a few different questions I always ask whenever I'm going into a new market, thinking about what the quiz might be about. I ask myself, what are the questions people are always asking? What are the 3 to 5 challenges that people are always struggling with? In my space, it's things like building their list. It's things like choosing their market. And it's things like doing a launch or creating a webinar. What are the questions that people are always struggling with? Number 2, What are the things that people are insanely curious about in your market? Where is there an opportunity to tap into the psychology of self-discovery? Number 3, what are things that are hot in the media right now using a newsjacking approach? This is a great approach for thinking about a quiz. Someone's going to create the Clubhouse quiz because people can't stop talking about Clubhouse, right? Like Clubhouse is ripe for a quiz right now because it's the thing that's in the media. Things like crypto and Bitcoin, that's getting a lot of attention, right? So at the time of this recording, we have all these big players that have bought $100 million, billion. Elon Musk, $1.5 billion worth of crypto through Tesla. Crypto, Bitcoin is a huge topic right now. So that's ripe for a quiz. So using that newsjacking approach. Next thing to think about for a potential quiz topic. What are the myths, mistakes, and misconceptions in your market? What are the things that people just completely get wrong? Great opportunity for a quiz. And finally, last but not least, what are the things in your market that offer a high degree of either loss or gain? Meaning there's a huge potential for people to win big or a huge potential for people to lose big if they make a mistake, if they screw up this part of their life or their business. All of these are great possible thought starters to help you think about what your quiz topic might be. I've got some other tools for you that I'm going to go rapid fire through as well. So these are some of the tools that I like to use when I'm brainstorming different topics. One of my favorites is a tool called Answer the Public. It's a tool you just type in a term, like here I type in the word sleep, you go to answerthepublic.com, and it gives you this whole mind map of questions that people ask around sleep. Using these question words like when, which, why, what. Like for example, which sleep is best? Which sleep stage do you dream? Which sleep position is best? That's a quiz right there. Which sleep position is right for you? Take the quiz to find out now. Boom. Great idea here. Which sleep mask? Which sleep mask is right for you? Take the quiz to get a sleep mask recommendation to help you get the best sleep of your life. We take into account things like your face shape, your sleep habits, even your sleep position, and we'll recommend what sleep mask is right for you to get the best sleep of your life. Take the quiz to find out now. Another great tool, AllTop. AllTop is a great tool for looking at the top headlines that are happening in the world right now. And you can oftentimes find something that's in a space or market or industry completely unrelated to yours, and it'll give you a great idea. Another example you can see here, which one did I want to draw attention to? So modern mobile app, how to pick the best Microsoft Surface laptop. That's a quiz right there. How to get Safari's new privacy features, FoodNet and a kitchen app, a debate over burning dead trees. So many great options there. Another great tool that I love is a tool called BuzzSumo. It's a tool to find some of the best performing content on the internet. You type in a word like sleep and you can see some of the best performing articles. Most times a great article can be made into a quiz, by the way. You can see here how to eat if you want better sleep. That might be a great quiz. What foods should you eat to get better sleep? Take this quiz to find out now. How to sleep on a plane, 18 illustrated positions for in-flight snoozing. So many great examples there. Google's your friend. Lots of different little hacks that you can do with Google. A great word to type in before your keyword is types of sleep. And you can see here, types of sleep apnea, types of sleep disorders, type of sleeper. What type of sleeper are you? Take the quiz to find out now. There you go. There's another quiz idea. Another great autocorrect tool or autocomplete tool is type in your keyword and then go through the alphabet. Sleep space A, sleep space B, C, D, E, and you get a whole bunch of different ideas by doing that. And I've gone through that here. Another great tool that I love is visualthesaurus.com. You can type in a word like sleep and you can see all the different kind of related terms. For example, a word that stands out to me here is nap. Maybe there's a quiz opportunity around napping, maybe not sleeping, but around napping. What type of napper are you? Should you be taking naps? Take this quiz to find out now. Wordtracker.com is a classic. Again, another great keyword tool that you can use to see some of the highest volume keyword searches around your niche. What stands out to me here is number 4 on this list is Sleep Number. There's an entire mattress company that's built their entire billion-dollar business on the back of a quiz. What's your sleep number? Take this quiz to find out now. And they recommend what your sleep number is and what mattress to buy based on that number. And many a happy marriages has this quiz preserved for couples who maybe have different sleep numbers. So what you want to do now is just take a moment based on kind of this rapid fire approach, the initial ideas that you've written down, to just write down in our little workbook that we got going here, your first few ideas. And you can do so by skipping through that same resource that we're on, Kickoff Workbook 03, skip down to page 8, and just type in at least 1 or 2 of your initial ideas. So what did we come up with? What type of sleeper are you? And then do this for your market, not the sleep market. Unless if you're in the sleep market, you're in luck. Man, I'm doing all the heavy lifting for you here. You're going to walk away with a quiz. Maybe something around napping. Maybe something around sleep position. Those are a few ideas. Maybe what type of mattress is right for you. We had the sleep mask idea. So just a few ideas that kind of jump out at you. And again, it's not about getting it perfect. Just get the wheels turning, get something written down. Being actively involved instead of just passively kind of soaking this all in will help your brain be engaged in a way that your subconscious mind starts doing the heavy lifting for you. And when you're, at the break and thinking about things, your brain will continue working in the background. So fill in a few of these. And once you've done that, we're going to check off box number 2. All right. It takes us to box number 3, brainstorming your framework. All right. How do you decide what framework to use? Again, there are 3 different frameworks: type, killer, score. And in your quiz, you might find that one of these frameworks works better or fits more snugly than one of the others. Like, for example, if you have a natural set of categories in your business, you might go with type. If there are a set of mistakes that people tend to make that hold them back from achieving the result that your product or service delivers, you might want to use a killer quiz. And finally, if you have a journey that you take people on, a journey of success where there are key steps or milestones along the way, you might think about using a score-based quiz. Now, for this, we're going to jump to page 10. We skip 2 pages forward. Page 10, you're going to see there's a whole list of words that you can use that are synonymous with type, killer, and score. Words that you could certainly pull from this list, or words that will give you some ideas. You're not restricted to the words on this list, but will give you some ideas of putting people into different types, or identifying the killer, or identifying the score. You might find that the word killer is just not appropriate for your market. It's a little too crass. It's a little too antithetical to your brand. It may not fit. You may be in a sort of softer space. You might need something like suppressor or blocker or pitfall. So don't think that you're restricted to using words like type, killer, and score when you're describing your quiz, but you can use words on this list. So you might want to take a moment to take a look at these words and then jot down maybe 1 or 2 words that stand out to you as ones that may fit. Like, for example, in our sleep example, we've already thought about, sleep position is one way we might do this. Type of sleeper is one way we might do this. In the killer space, maybe it's sleep killers. What's killing your sleep? That could be one. Sleep score is way that we might do it. And I'd recommend and encourage you to think about ideas under each of these frameworks. So a few possible ideas for type in the first column, a few possible ideas for a killer in the second column, and a few possible ideas for a score in the third column. Now, in the time that we have, we don't have time for breakout work sessions. If we were spending more time together, we would certainly be going through this. So just kind of jot down your initial idea. And if you have a blank, that's okay. Just put a few question marks, and it's a placeholder for you to remember, you know what? I need to maybe think a little bit more about what score possibility might work for me. All right, great. Once we've done that, we've officially checked off box number 3, moving right along, making some great progress here. Now we want to actually brainstorm the hook itself. So we've started with the offer. We have a rough idea of what you're selling. We then move to the topic, some possible ideas that are kind of, starting the process. We thought about the framework itself. Are we going type, killer, or score? And maybe some words that we might use. Now we're actually going to brainstorm possible hooks. This is where we combine the topic and the framework in a way that's phrased to concisely summarize what the quiz is all about. And we've got a whole bunch of examples of this in that resource that you get access to, which is 101 quiz funnel ideas. So if I go to that resource, that is resource number 1 in our Dropbox list. If you click on that, open it up, download it, save it to your computer, fire it up here, you're going to see a whole bunch of different ideas. These are just thought starters. I mean, you might find one on here that fits great with your business, but that's not the objective. The objective here is to give you some ideas. So for example, if you're in the client services space, you have a consulting practice, coaching, an agency, you're a freelancer, you work with clients one-on-one, here are a whole bunch of ideas, right? So what business loan's right for you? How job ready are you? What's the number 1 relationship killer in your life? What fitness business model is right for you? What type of live event should you host for your business? So just a whole bunch of ideas to just kind of get your mind thinking about a possible hook for your business. When you have time at your leisure, feel free to browse through that and go through that. What I want to give you today are six easy and effective ways to format your quiz hook for your quiz. Now, the reason why this next step is important is you want to be able to concisely articulate your quiz idea in just a few short words. You don't want to have to explain in a paragraph. So my quiz is a quiz that helps people figure out, no. You want to be able to say, quiz, what's your sleep position? Take the quiz to find out now. Or quiz, what's your weight loss type? That's it. Quiz, what's your number 1 swing killer? You want to be able to articulate your quiz in a very short, simple, and concise way, because that is how you're going to be positioning your quiz in the form of a headline in your ads, in the form of a subject line in your emails, in the form of a simple opening in your videos. You want to be able to articulate it in just a few short words. And we have some easy to use frameworks that you can use for this. So let's check it out. So 6 easy and effective ways to format your hook for your quiz. Here's the first one. Quiz, what's your topic plus framework? So you just came up with your topic. You just came up with your framework. You're simply filling in the gaps. Quiz, what's your wealth blocker? Quiz, what's your skin type? Quiz, what's your fitness score? And by the way, you might be asking yourself, what's the reason, for putting the word quiz in caps and in brackets at the beginning? What that does is it indicates to people when they see this headline that it's a quiz. And it's a powerful word. Remember, we have a software platform. We have over 200 million data points annually. So we have a tremendous amount of data around everything like the optimal number of questions to create a high converting quiz, the optimal number of words in each question, the optimal number of answers in each individual question, the words themselves that move the needle and make the biggest difference. And quiz is one of these hot button words. There's a word that you never want to use. That word, by the way, is survey. People hate taking surveys, but they love taking quizzes. So use that word quiz in your headline. Quiz, what's your fitness score? Quiz, what's your sleep profile? Quiz, what's your stamina killer? Another format number 2, the second way that you could possibly frame your quiz looks like this. Quiz, what topic is right for you? So what mattress is right for your body type? What business loan is right for you? What personal trainer is right for your fitness goals? So what topic, insert the blank, is right for you? Format number 3, how blank ready are you? How detox ready are you? How summer holiday ready is your wardrobe? How ready are you to get back into dating? Take the quiz to find out now. So how ready are you is a great format. Format number 4, which of these topic mistakes are you making? Quiz, which of these weight loss mistakes are you making? Quiz, which of these study mistakes is your high schooler making? Quiz, which of these common budgeting mistakes is your household making? So which of these blank mistakes are you making? And by the way, bear with me 1 second. I want to just double check because for those of you who are frantically taking notes right now, I can see you trying to get all this down. We have these for you. I just want to point you in the right direction. You're going to find all of these in your kickoff workbook. So that's resource 03. Resource 03, your kickoff workbook. You're going to find them starting on page 12. So by all means, feel free to take notes on this, but I just don't want you to feel like you're I know I'm going fast. Trust me. Like I said, 3.5 days in 3 hours here. But you have these resources. So you have these examples, and the team's posted it again if you have trouble finding it. Okay, cool. Format number 5. What type of topic should you verb? So that looks like this. What type of business should you start? Take the quiz. What type of online course should you create? What type of executive assistant should you hire? So topic plus verb, another format. And finally, format number 6, quiz plus an intriguing question. Quiz, how much money could this IoT technology save you in your business? Take the quiz to find out now. Quiz, can you really improve your memory in just 10 short days? Quiz, how many years can you add to your life with meditation? Take the quiz to find out now. Now, I know some of you might be asking, do you have to use one of these formats? Well, the answer is no. These formats are guides only. You are only limited to your imagination. But one of my phrases, one of the things I teach all of our clients, all of our students, is I always recommend to emulate before you innovate. I get it. You're creative. You're entrepreneurial. We all are. We want that. We have that temptation to want to say, hey, you know what? I know, Ryan, I know you've spent 100,000 hours doing this. I know you've dedicated the last 20 years of your life figuring this out. I've never done this before, but I have this idea. Well, your idea very well could be better than anything that we've ever tested, but I recommend at least starting with a best practice so you have a baseline, and then you can see, does your new innovative idea outperform the baseline starting point, or does it underperform? So you can compare it on a relative basis. Emulate before you innovate. It makes it easy to use a tried and tested format. So as I mentioned, these are all in that workbook that you've got access to. And the next thing that you want to do now, we're going to take just a half a second to do this. On page 16 of your workbook, the kickoff workbook, again, resource 03, you want to just take a moment to type in one idea. So just one, just to get practice on this step of the process. You're going to want to do more than this, but let's start with one. Quiz, type the word quiz in all caps and brackets. And based on the formats that we've come up with, what's maybe one idea that you've jotted down or thought about that's come to mind? What mattress is right for your body type? Take the quiz to find out now. Great. So take one, take a moment to do this. Type it in, and you'll kind of get the process. And you're going to want to do this over and over again until you've come up with at least ideally 15 different ideas. And the reason for that is, as we all know as marketers, the first idea is often not the best idea. We've got to get through that throat clearing, got to get through all the kind of messy garbage in our brain before we can cut through the clutter and get to the good stuff. And oftentimes it's that last one that comes in just under the deadline, right at the end. That's the one that is the best of the bunch. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a few troubleshooting tips as you're going through this process of brainstorming quiz hook possibilities. You want to use the word quiz in the prefix. That's number one. And what that does, it helps to make sure that your headline, that your articulation of your quiz hook feels like a quiz. You want to make sure that it actually works, that the language, the word makes sense to a stranger seeing those words for the first time. Here's some other tips, common mistakes that I see people make. You want to avoid yes-no conclusions. So you want to avoid quizzes that the outcome is either going to be yes or no. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Here was Janine Samuels, who's in the cheerleading space. She's a professional cheerleader and ex-cheerleader for the Washington Wizards and the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins. For many years, she was a team captain, and she built a business helping other young women become pro cheerleaders. So her first quiz idea was, are you pro cheerleader material? Yes or no? Well, what happens when a woman takes this quiz and she's given the answer no? That's it. You've slammed the door in her face. You're not pro cheerleader material. Sorry. Like, go away. So you don't want to do that. Instead, you want to give people multiple roads. So here's a better version, her after version. What's your pro cheerleader potential? So we've taken people away from this binary yes or no scenario to one that exists more on a scale, on a spectrum, where there's going to be an answer for everyone who takes the quiz. All right. Next tip. You want to avoid how much do you know / IQ angles for score quizzes. This is not one of these quizzes. So just to be clear, the type of quiz funnel that you're building here is not one that would test people's knowledge on the topic. The name of the game here isn't for people to show you how smart they are. It's not one of these IQ quizzes. And the reason for that is oftentimes it gives people a false sense of preparedness toward the transformation you provide in your product or service. How many times, and you might, as I ask you this question, think about this in your business, and maybe you've had this in your life. How many times do you feel like you might know something? You know the right answer. You know what you need to do, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the work that you've done in that area of your life, right? Like you know what you need to do to be a better romantic partner. You know what you need to do to prepare your business. You know what you need to do to eat healthier in the kitchen and work out in the gym. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you've actually done it, right? So we don't want to give people this false sense of accomplishment where they feel like patting themselves on the back and say, yeah, I know what I need to do. I don't need to buy your workout equipment. I know exactly what I need to do. So you want to avoid these IQ-based angles. So in this case here, go from what is your pregnancy IQ score to what's your pregnancy readiness score. Before, how much do you really know about insurance to what type of insurance is right for you. More troubleshooting tips. Avoid more than one idea in your hook. For those of you who have more than one idea right now, just show of hands, show me who has like more than one idea right now. If you got like a few different possible ideas. Yeah, the worst thing that you could possibly do is make poopy colored Play-Doh and combine all those colors together. That's the worst thing that you can do. Don't combine the purple and the yellow and the red and the blue because it's going to make that poopy brown color. So don't do that with your quiz hooks. Don't try to combine them all into one and make some like mega quiz idea. It's less is more here. So take a look at this. You don't want to do something like this. Yeah.
I'm wondering if we could break things up and do a couple examples, because I know there's a lot of spinning heads right now.
Okay.
Would it be okay if we did some actually incorporated some of these ideas, but with some live examples, just so they get some support?
So I'm about to get to
am I going to mess you up in your flow?
I'm going to get to a pausing point in about 6 or 7 slides to do just that.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Awesome. So a couple more tips, and then we'll take a few live examples. I think that's a great idea. Okay, great. So here's an example of combining too many ideas into a quiz. Quiz, what's your health superpower and silent killer? I don't even know what that's about. Like I have to read that 3 times for my brain to even understand what it is, right? That goes from being very complicated and too much to quiz. What's the #1 silent killer causing your stress? Another example. Another tip is you want to create distance to avoid resistance to blame, and at the same time, add a bit of intrigue in the process. And this is best understood by showing you an example. If you have a quiz that reads, what's your stress type? By doing that, you run the risk of people resisting their diagnosis because it's too tied to their personal identity. But you can create just a shade of distance by not making it about them, but instead making about, for example, their body. What's your body's stress type? See that subtle difference? Just that nuance, taking it from what's your stress type to what's your body's stress type? Or even better, what's your body's natural stress type? Now you've taken it from this thing that the person is screwed up or messed up to your body just has this natural stress response. It's not your fault. It's just the way your body is. But once you identify what that natural stress type is, then and only then can we work through and formulate a plan to address that. You could also have what's your body's stress response score. Other great ways to create distance to avoid resistance to blame. A few more things I want to get to, and then we'll take Mike's suggestion and do maybe a few live examples here. So for mistakes and killer angle, use the phrase or the number 1. So you could take it from what's your relationship killer, which is a little meh, to what's your #1 relationship killer, which just gives it just that little, it punches it up just a bit. It gives it a little bit more teeth. Taking it from quiz, what are your debt mistakes, to what's your #1 debt mistake? Take the quiz to find out now. Consider diction, and in some cases, alliteration. So the words you use in your quiz, you want your quiz to be able to roll off the tongue. So for example, before quiz, what's your healthy pregnancy blind spot? It's a bit of a mouthful. To what about this? What's your birth plan blind spot? That alliteration causes it to roll off the tongue. Or another approach, what's your pregnancy preparation score? Much easier than what's your healthy pregnancy blind spot, which just doesn't, you kind of stub your toe, as we say in copy a few times. One more. Before, what pro-fertility foods is your diet missing? My brain almost needs to read that and reread that a couple times to understand it. To what's your number one fertility diet deficiency? Another example, what's your book publishing type can become what publishing path is right for you. And finally, make sure that you're using language that your market is already using. So I saw this with an estate planning attorney creating a quiz for his practice. Started with, what's your legacy readiness score? And I said, is legacy readiness, is that actually a phrase that people use, that consumers really use in real life? Like when a husband and wife are sitting at the dinner table and they're, eating the mashed potatoes, does the husband go to the wife and say, I wonder what our legacy readiness is right now? No, it's probably a phrase that's never been uttered outside of marketing circles. What about estate planning? Oh yeah, that's a word that people use. What's your estate planning readiness score? And make it clear, make it simple. Less is more. Keep it simple. What's your lead generation readiness score? Can just become what's your number one lead generation killer. All right. So once you've done this, you're able to check off this box, brainstorming your quiz hook. Now, before we move forward to making your short list of quiz hooks, I thought, let's take Mike's suggestion, and why don't we do a few of these in real time? And Mike, if I could just ask you to maybe facilitate, and yes. I'll do my best. I know we're flying without a net right now. Put me on the spot, but we'll go through a few examples to kind of make this real, and we can kind of work through them together if that would be helpful.
That sounds great. My number one goal is to make you look bad, Ryan. So what we're going to do is pick the hardest one possible. But seriously, what we'll do here, and the best way to get the most out of this and also help the most people, is if you can ask Ryan this or that question. So come prepared with some options for him, and he'll be able to tell you which one's going to be better and why. Because he can draw from literally training. I mean, you've done this process dozens, if not hundreds of times at this point, Ryan, and you've taught thousands, tens of thousands of people. You've got a really good sense of what works, what doesn't, and what actually gets executed on. So
totally.
So why don't we begin with, there's some great stuff in here. And I'm just going to ask one question that Joe Clark asked, which is the maximum number of words that can be in a quiz headline. Do you have some great, some recommendations there on a general basis? And then what we'll do is have people pop in, ask their questions, or I'll just rattle them off and we'll get clarity.
Yeah, it's a great question. Now, it depends on the traffic source in terms of the number of characters. Certain platforms like Facebook, for example, will have a certain limitation in terms of the number of words that you can put in a headline. These things tend to change from time to time. Same thing with Google. So the shorter your headline, the more flexibility you're going to have in the most number of places. Think about when you receive an email and you're previewing the email subject line. You only see the first few words of that subject line. So the shorter you make it, the better. And that's gonna, the reason why you've seen some of the examples I've shared with you. Quiz, what's your weight loss type? It doesn't get much better than that. So the shorter you can make it, the better. And I'm looking at some of the questions coming through in the chat as well.
Why don't you take a look at them? I'm going to ask you two because I'm going to lump two of them together. One of them that Mark Savage put in is, how ready are you to hire a patent attorney? And then another one, a link had something like, what kind of book should you write, or something like that. And I know, some people might not even know that you're the solution yet. So part of what you want to do when you're asking a great quiz question is focus on solving the problem, or ask the problem question, not try to deliver your solution in the headline. But what can you say about, looking at some of the examples that are being asked right now?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I'm trying to think of some good alternatives on the spot right now. So it's natural the old adage in direct marketing is don't tell me about your fertilizer, tell me more about my crabgrass. And there's this construct that I teach, and I don't know that I'm going to have time to get into it in detail today, just based on the limited time that we have, that I call Band-Aid cure. And it's this framework that I think is really helpful. So think about your business like this. Imagine for a moment that you're caring for a young child, whether it's your own child or a grandchild or a niece, nephew, a neighbor's kid, if you don't have kids. Just imagine you're caring for a young child, you're babysitting a young kid, and the kiddo's outside riding the bike, run around in circles. They fall off the bike, they skin their knee, they run inside, and what do they say? They say, "Mommy, I need a Band-Aid," right? Now, you as an adult, you know that the Band-Aid's not going to make the knee feel better. You know that you're going to have to put some ice on the knee, that you're going to maybe have to put some Neosporin. Maybe they need to take a child's Tylenol or something like that. But if you try to force any of those cures on the child's not going to have it. What do you need to do? You first need to bend down on one knee and say, "Hey, sweetie, let's get a Band-Aid on that thing. Let's put a Band-Aid on. And when the tears go away and the crying stops, give the kiddo a hug and you say, okay, now, honey, to really make it feel better, we're going to have to put some ice on it." But it's not until you've addressed where they are, you've met them where they're at, you've given them the Band-Aid. The Band-Aid, this is worth writing down. The Band-Aid is the thing your market thinks they need. Your cure is the thing you know they need. But people are not walking around thinking they need your cure. They're walking around thinking they need the Band-Aid.
That's awesome.
And your quiz hook should be about the Band-Aid. So you want to think where they're at, meet them where they're at. What's the problem that's swimming around in their brain right now? Not, which of my, patent attorney processes is right for you. They're not even thinking like this. It's, is your intellectual property at risk? Take this quiz to find out now. Could your competitor steal your best ideas? Take this quiz to find out now. Those are the types of problems that are keeping people up at night. Not, am I ready to hire a patent attorney right now? That might be the question you want them to be thinking about from your selfish business perspective, but it's not necessarily the thing that's keeping them up at night when their head's hitting the pillar and they're having a conversation with their sweetheart saying, "Gosh, I don't know if we're protected." Those are the questions that you want your quiz to address.
That was fantastic. So I'm gonna rephrase that or reframe it a little bit, Ryan. I don't remember who I first heard this from, but the first to diagnose the disease is always the first to be trusted with the cure. And you're leading with your solution, you're already selling, and they're going to get the yuck. So earlier, Barry, who's a music producer, he had a quiz, "Can music help me sleep?" But maybe what you do is diagnose the problem. The fastest way to, how would you frame that, Ryan? Because what you want to do is
right.
How to deal. Yeah, go ahead. Let's.
Because can music help? So this is a great example, right? So Barry, we'll take your business and as I go, because we can't go through. I'd love to just. We could. It's not the plan. I'm happy to serve at the highest. I'm happy to serve at whatever's the highest way, but it'll mean we won't be able to cover all the pieces. But that's fine. I'm happy. We could go literally. If you want me to, we could spend the next 3 hours, the next 2 hours just going like quiz, like my business. But what I encourage you to do is extrapolate how this maps to your business. So Barry, in your business, could music help you sleep? It's interesting. It could work. It does break a few best practices, right? So number one, we're going to either do something that's disingenuous, in which case we're going to recommend, yes, it works for everybody. And then it's a little bit smoke and mirrors in terms of the quiz. And it's not really the most honest, integral thing to do. Or we're going to have a situation where for some people, music's not right for you. And then do we have an alternative for them? Instead, what I like thinking about is one step earlier in the process. What's really holding you back from getting good sleep? See, one of the biggest misconceptions in the sleep market is people think that they need a different mattress. They need to change the temperature at which they sleep. They need to change their diet and do things before they sit down. But in the reality, for many people, it's none of those things. It's actually something completely unexpected. So what's really holding you back from getting good sleep? Take this free assessment to find out now. So see, we've put so much intrigue and curiosity in it. So people are now very much whetted their appetite to find out what is the thing, but you've opened the door that for some people it might be music, but then for other people that your solution may or may not be a fit. Maybe you refer them out to someone else in this group that might have a solution that's not about music. Maybe there's someone in this group that has a supplement business, that having some type of melatonin supplement is the right move for them. So now you've opened the door, you've opened yourself so much wider. You've also eliminated the people who at the forefront are thinking, music's not right for me. They've already decided it's not their thing. But by casting the net as wide as possible, this is the type of thing, like I've had quizzes in the past, that become broad enough that you could run this on the major traffic networks. You could run that on yahoo.com. I've had quizzes that we've run on yahoo.com that get over 100,000 leads per day, 100,000 email subscribers per day, transform businesses overnight. So when you have a quiz like that, that has that mass market consumer appeal, it is something that everybody struggles with. Now, your solution might serve a subset of those people, but that's fine, because you can refer those other people to a whole bunch of different offers that might not be your primary offer. And that could be a substantial part of your business.
Or as well, I mean, my wife is actually formulates nutraceuticals for sleep. So now we could partner together. And if music for sleep doesn't work, then we package it as a program as opposed to just a singular solution.
There you go. You got it, man. I mean, like, that's it. It's just, it comes a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario. If she were to do a quiz that was around supplementation and you were to do a quiz around music, you're going to be addressing a relatively small niches within the human population of people who sleep. But by making it about sleep and not about your solution, you've now opened yourself up in a much bigger way. And you're able to, using the power of micro commitments, and if we have time this afternoon to cover this, we'll talk about how you use questions in a very strategic way to inch people along into your way of thinking. They might not have had music on the radar at all before taking the quiz. But by strategically asking questions in a very specific way, we're now creating desire and demand for the product that you're creating, so that by the end of it, they're thinking, I never really thought music could be a thing, but I'm wondering if maybe music is a solution.
Now, question for you, within that quiz, can you educate as well in terms of?
Well, the place, you'll see the place where we educate people is in the outcome.
Gotcha.
So we're using questions very selectively to create desire and demand, to demonstrate your expertise. And we'll talk about this, because one of the best ways, have you ever had a conversation with someone where they've just asked you such a banger of a question that you said, dang, I've never thought about that. Now, that person does not need to tell you how many times they've been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine, how many accolades they've won, how awesome they are. They've demonstrated their expertise to you in a singular moment by asking an incredibly insightful question. And when you ask good questions in the way that, if we have time, I'll be teaching this afternoon, the only question that your prospect or quiz taker is going to be asking after the quiz is, Barry, what do I do about it?
Gotcha.
And we'll talk about how you do that. So there's a very intentional path that we're taking people through.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Cool.
Good.
Awesome. Mike, where do we go next?
Okay. Well, I've got one. I'm going to make a point, and I think you'll be able to expand on this, and then we'll be taking a break. So Brett Beckman put, what is your vet dentistry education score, for example, which again is leading someone with your selling. So instead, you may want to ask a question like, how long is your pet going to live? Or what's the best way to predict if your pet's going to live? Or just lead with, what is the number one problem or challenge your clients are coming to you and saying their problem is, and turning that into a question. But can you expand on what you would do instead of what is your vet dentistry education score, for example?
Yeah. So talk to me about that. Are we selling to veterinary offices, or are we selling to, I know this isn't the politically correct way to phrase it, but I'm just going to do it. It's the easiest way.
That's all right.
Owners.
We love politically correct here. We're working on cancel culture, so we're going to do that to you today.
All right, perfect. So I know this isn't the right way to say it, but pet owners or veterinarians? Who are we addressing? Who is the end? Who is your ideal client? Just we'll start with that, and then we'll.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks, Mike and Ryan. I'm a veterinary dentist oral surgeon, so I train veterinarians to provide better oral care for their patients. And traditionally, they don't get any training in veterinary school. So we have a high-level $6,000 8-month training, and then we have some other trainings leading up to that are online courses that are about $400 to $500. So my thought was to have that. The low score is people who don't have as much experience that would be better off with the lower price point and more basic courses versus the other echelon or the other end, which would be the high end 8-month training.
So just so I'm clear though, you're selling to veterinary offices. So I'm a vet.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I want to add this specialization to my practice to presumably differentiate myself from the competition and provide better care to my patients.
Exactly.
Got it. So, so the question here really is around how do we attract vets who are going to be thinking in this direction? So that I understand where you've come with that phrase. It is it's descriptive, but it's too cumbersome and clunky right now, right? It's too much of a thing to kind of get people there. So how might we do this? So it's around oral hygiene. It's around vet offices. So quiz. What?
And I have an idea. Maybe this is Lee, who has vet hospitals, and I might have an
idea
for you.
Sure. Hey.
How do you help your patients' pets live longer? Because dental hygiene adds this much life. And just giving some statistics, like how do you get your pets to live longer? How do you get your clients to live long? How to be a hero to your pet, to your clients? How to be a hero to your clients? It really is, because you want their pets to live longer, and great oral hygiene is really one of the key factors.
My thinking is in that direction as well. I think it's too much too soon to be pushing the oral hygiene angle on people at the start of the quiz. I think that comes on the back side. So I think we want to be thinking more in that direction. And then the one other thing that I'll add, and sometimes they come like this, and sometimes it takes a little bit of work, and that's okay. But the one other thing that I'll add is I don't know that I would use the quiz to steer people to one of several programs. All of these programs are relatively higher price points. I think there's an opportunity for you to two-step it. And I don't know that we'll have time to go into this in more detail, but there's a very effective transition that you make post-quiz. And there's a flow that I'll try to make time to go through. And it really goes like this. You say, based on your results, thank you for taking the time for telling me about your situation. Here are your results. You explain, here's what that means based on the results. Here are the biggest mistakes people make in this situation. And here's what to do next. And instead of trying to say, I recommend that you buy our $3,000 blankety blank program, I think there's another step that you want people to take, which is probably at those price points, possibly actually getting on the phone and having a conversation with someone. So the next step is, well, what do you do about it? Well, we've got a variety of different programs for introducing oral hygiene into your practice. And based on your practice and kind of where you're at, that's going to really determine the best next step for you. So what I recommend is that before you do anything else, let's set up a time to talk. And all you need to do is just click the button below, schedule a time in my calendar or my colleague's calendar, and we'll sit down and talk with you in a little bit more detail and walk you through what the best next steps and what the best plan is for you and your office. So go ahead and do that now while you're on this page and you're thinking about it. I think there's one other step that we want to take people to, because no one's going to buy a $7,000 or $8,000 program after answering, 10 quiz questions and seeing a 3 to 5 minute video. It's just too big of a purchasing decision. So we want them to do that intermediate step. So we'll talk more about that this afternoon. But Mike, that's how I would approach that. And just one more time to wrap things up. Remember this slide that I put up a moment ago. Ask yourself, and there's a bit of a lag here. We'll fix this at the break. I'm looking at it right here. There we go. These are the questions that you want to be thinking about. What are the 3 to 5 challenges that people are always asking about in your target market? What are the things they're most curious about? What's dominating the news cycle in your industry right now? What are the myths, mistakes, misconceptions, and what are the things that people stand to lose or gain a huge amount? These are the types of things that you want to orient your brain toward as you're thinking about your quiz topic and ultimately your quiz hook.
Okay, I hope you found that video awesome and useful. So if you want to get a free copy of my book, I want you to click here. And if you want to watch some more videos that'll be useful and awesome, click here. Go ahead. They're over here. Do it now. Come on. Thank you. Watch them.